This weekend, crowds gathered at the Texas Capitol Saturday as part of a nationwide call for action by the 5051 movement. Instead of a traditional protest, however, a coalition of organizations hosted a picnic on Capitol grounds. The demonstration featured live music, speakers, and chants. I'm joined now by Justin Dowd to chat more about the demonstration this weekend. Good evening, Justin.
Hey, Areebah, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Good.
So you and I have been to multiple 5051 demonstrations. How was this one different from the others?
Yeah, this was a pretty large shift from what we've seen in the past. Before, we've seen a lot of large, widespread demonstrations with the traditional signs, the chants, the speakers, and all of that was present this weekend. But instead of it involving a march or a stationary demonstration at the steps of the Capitol, it was a really large picnic, essentially. So about 1,000 people were spread all across the south lawn in front of the Capitol, and they were spread out on tarps, on chairs, meeting with different organizations from around the Austin area and the state that are all motivated towards one cause, and that's what the 5051 movement is kind of dedicated for.
Right, so what did organizers have to say about taking this different approach this time?
Yeah, so one of the organizers that we talked to really emphasized how community building was a central kind of motivator for the shift in practice. This isn't something, a picnic isn't something that they're going to adopt necessarily every time they do a protest, but this was just an effort to build more of a community. They say that community is going to be kind of the rock of surviving what they refer to as kind of a tumultuous political atmosphere, and they think that building that community and kind of building this coalition of people that you can rely on and lean on when you may be feeling down and you have the ability to lift someone else up, right? They're kind of emphasizing those aspects as opposed to the traditional show up, protest, leave, and kind of exist for 2 hours in a space and don't touch it again. They're trying to push that more towards a long form and widespread kind of atmosphere.
And one of those demonstrators that you talked to is from Texas A&M. She made the trip to Austin specifically for the demonstration. What did she say about making that 2-hour drive and why she decided to do it?
Yeah, so she actually was talking about the atmosphere in College Station, where Texas A&M's flagship campus is based. She said that she was really hoping, she actually went to one of the central areas in College Station, hoping to see a really large turnout of protesters because this was a national day of action. This was a movement that had been widely broadcast as something that was going to take place across the country, and it did take place in hundreds of cities and towns across the nation, both big and small. And so she was expecting something at a College Station. Even though it's known as a little bit more of a conservative campus, it's still a college campus, and traditionally there's going to be at least some turnout. But at A&M there wasn't. She said that she went to those spots in College Station. She didn't see a single protester. She considered being that protester herself and saying, I'm going to take a stand here because these people need to hear it. But in the end, she decided that she wanted to come to Austin and be a part of that larger community building that we talked about before. And I think that really speaks to kind of a motivation for a lot of people around this state that are feeling lost at a time, and they're trying to find community where they can. And so she did that. She drove 2.5 hours to Austin from College Station and turned out for the picnic, and then she drove back.
So speaking to that longevity, what's next for 5051 in Austin specifically?
Yeah, so in Austin, the 5051 movement and the other grassroots organizations that are kind of partnering with the movement are planning to do a demonstration at the Capitol on May 1st. That's May Day. It's a Thursday. They're going to meet in the evening. I believe it's 5 to 8 roughly within that window, and their goal is to kind of motivate action on that day with more of a traditional protest. They said that they're going to try and march. They don't know if they'll be able to get the permits for that, so we'll kind of see what the developments are there, but they definitely are going to turn out and try and keep up the momentum.
Awesome. And Justin and I will be sure to bring you updates on May Day.
Yeah.
Awesome. So this is our second year airing Tower Talks after reviving it in 2024. Every week on Monday, Tower Talks brings you the latest political updates and a panel of guests to dive deep on a number of topics. When we come back, we'll get to talk to the producers who make that happen every week, getting to know them and the show a little bit more. Tower Talks will be right back.
13 of the 48 club sports offered by the university now require students to submit proof of sex assigned at birth.
I know deep down they would probably want to stay with the university.
No way in hell anybody's going to tell my daughters what to do with their bodies.
This state is one of the worst in child education.
We can't take it anymore, seeing those scenes.
Going to Hillel on Friday night, all my family members kept texting me not to go.
There's a huge housing crisis in Austin. Do you have a plan in place to address this issue? Determined to start your day well? We're up bright and early. From the enriching local stories to the weather forecast later in the day. Rain or shine, at Good Morning Longhorns, we got you covered. Comprised of a studious reporting staff going lengths to get that scoop, and a talented technical team to enhance your screen visually. As a fellow Longhorn, your mornings are better with us. So start your day the Vivo way. Good Morning Longhorns, Wednesdays at 7 a.m. Central Time on TSTV.
Diving deeper now on the death of the Pope
Things to say.
this morning.
It wasn't a coincidence.
We're live. Welcome back to Tower Talks. Here with us this evening is Tower Talks executive producer Rayon Sheikh. Rayon is a senior journalism major. She joined Tower Talks in its revival semester as an associate producer and now oversees the show's production, and she's here with us in the middle there. On the far side, we have associate producer Medha Serene. Medha is a sophomore journalism major. She also joined Tower Talks in its revival semester as a staffer and now works on the technical side, overseeing graphics production and tech directing every show. She's an associate producer. And finally, we have associate producer Justin Dowd. Justin is a sophomore journalism major. He joined Tower Talks last semester as a staffer and now works behind the scenes to help secure panelists and create lots of our on-air content. Thank you for being here today, guys. How are y'all?
Good.
I'm doing pretty good. All right, well, I guess we'll jump right into it. So I wanted to start by kind of reflecting on this past semester. Can y'all just talk about what your favorite moments were for Tower Talks? We can start maybe with Medha and move down the line.
Okay, well, the first thing that came to mind wasn't really a favorite moment in a happy way, but it was, I remember this one show where everything was going wrong.
Which one?
I don't remember no, it's so bad I don't remember the time. No, it was the show where our teleprompter logged out, mid-show. It was during D Block.
Yeah, that was rough.
It was during legislative updates with, with you.
Woo!
And
Justin was hosting, right?
I think so. Yeah, Justin was hosting, pulled off this very beautiful impromptu rant.
Yeah, it was
about-
Emmy. She's nodding from the
Shout out.
teleprompter.
That was a good save. I remember.
Yeah, so that show was just very rough, but then everybody pulled through with that one moment, and I felt so good at the end of the show because I was just in the control room. There was nothing I could really do or worry about here. It was just on other people, but they all killed it, and so that was definitely. It was a bad situation, but it was a highlight.
Something we turn around and turn into something good.
Exactly.
I love that.
I think there's been a lot, but I think for this season specifically, I really liked our journalism professors panel. Professors are notoriously very hard to get for this show because it airs at 10 p.m. on a Monday and no one wants to stay here that late. The fact that we had 4 journalism professors come in, and then the fact that I was watching the panel from the control room, and we were all just so excited hearing their opinions and hearing them talk and everything, because these are the people that teach us and are kind of the faces of journalism when it comes to our education. So it was really valuable to hear their insights, and the fact that we put that together was really cool to me, especially because securing panelists is probably like 80% of the work. It's hard to do, so to be able to have such a great panel was a good moment.
Yeah, I can only second that. I think that having kind of that base of support in the journalism school is really impactful. It's I don't want to like go down the student journalism rabbit hole too much, but it's a hard time to go into journalism right now, and it's a really scary time. We all really care about it and care about what we do, but there's not a lot of security in the profession, and so knowing that you have that support from the people that have survived in this profession, that have not only survived but also thrived. I mean, one of them was a New York Times writer for 20 plus years, and getting them to come in at 10 p.m. on a night because they care about what we're doing and what we're trying to put out there, I think is really impactful. I'll also say for me, the water episode, everybody knows I love water. So yeah, Waterboy. That Adam Sandler movie, great. But the water episode was really impactful. Yeah, I know, but I just thought it was fun. And the immigration episode, both of those were really, really important topics to me and really impactful, I think.
Well, I wanted to mix in some fun questions, and I went to the internet to try to find some inspiration for those. So, question from Google. I guess we can start with Justin this time and go down this way.
Awesome.
If you were a tree, what kind of tree would you be?
I reject the notion that people just have trees, like just logged in their minds. Who's oak? I don't know. I mean,
should we give you some options?
Yeah, give me a multiple choice.
Okay, like
oak, birch.
Pecan?
Pecan?
Is that a tree? That's a tree.
Why'd that go? Why was that at the form? Redwood. I'm a redwood.
Why?
Because I'm a really big national parks buff. I want to go to all of the national parks, and I really want to go to Redwood National Park. Which, fun fact, it's actually connected to another national park and a state park system, and they're all run under one operating system. So it's kind of a unique collaboration.
So Justin is a tree growing in a national park.
Hell yeah.
What about you, Ram?
Can I say that? Yes, I can. It's not on the list.
I don't know as many trees as Justin does, clearly.
I named 3.
That's more than I know. Who knows trees off the top of their head?
Amen.
So I'm going to say a apple tree, like the Giving Tree from the book.
That's a solid answer.
I like that.
I'm a pine tree because I shed. This is
Can
so
we clip
funny.
that? Can we be on socials?
Because when we were talking,
you are the producer.
Can we do what
we make the
do?
content?
Earlier when we were talking about the utensils question,
yes.
You were talking about when you
I got asked in an internship interview if I were a kitchen utensil, what would I be?
And they still don't hire us. We answered these questions.
I didn't get the job.
You see what I mean?
No.
Crazy.
It was so crazy because in an interview that I did previously, they didn't ask me the tree question, but they were telling me about the tree question. Because
really?
At the end of the interview, they were saying like, "Oh, one silly question that I've been asked is this tree question." So then we were talking about the tree
Google
question,
silly
and now
interview
you
questions, so.
Yeah.
All right. Well, turning back to a more serious note, we got to keep it light for the last show. You know, got to go back and forth a bit. But why did you all decide to apply to be producers?
Who are we starting with?
Justin, you've been
elected.
Got it.
Okay, yeah.
Nice.
Okay, yeah, I can go. Well, I was here during the conception of bringing back the show. Areebah was our executive producer back then for our first season of Tower Talks, and she was the one who asked me both times to apply to be an associate producer and then an executive producer. It was my first semester of my sophomore year, and we were talking about bringing the show back. And back then, prior to Tower Talks being an idea that I even knew about, my first introduction to journalism was those like CNN table talk style shows, with political content and panelists and journalists asking follow-up questions. And I think that's one of the things that I prided myself most on during these 3 years at journalism school. Is being able to come up with questions that are relevant, going off of the fly and getting information from people and being able to guide those discussions in interviews. And I really like that concept with Tower Talks. So I was like, when Areebah brought the show idea and the fact that it existed before, I was more than happy to apply. I wanted to take on kind of a more leadership role. And then when she asked me to apply for, or she suggested applying for producer a second time around, I was studying abroad. And I was in the study abroad mindset, so I honestly wasn't planning on applying for producer again because I was just gonna like hang out and take things easy my last semester. But after she suggested, I was like, no, like I want to give it one more try. And it's been a really great job, or a really great time here. I will say EP is a lot of work, so I have a lot of respect for Areebah for doing it for a semester because it's a different beast to handle. But
and reviving the show too.
Yes,
like not just having the existing show.
But I couldn't have done it without you guys' help, and you took the role and you did a great job with it.
Yeah, and I've done it for 2 semesters now, I guess, Tower Talks, but it feels like it's been such a big part of my life. So, yeah, it's been a great time.
Yeah, I mean, very similar. I really like the political long-form content. I think that kind of picking a subject and getting to dive into it a lot deeper with a lot of experts is something that I really enjoy doing, especially on topics that I really care about. I think that it's a really good way to
water.
Like water, really. Water is, guys, don't get me started.
We did the water episode just for Justin.
We did. I begged, and they said, "Really, water on a broadcast show?" And I was like, "You're gonna love it." And then it was water on a broadcast show. But I mean, I think that how often do you get to talk to a water expert, right? Like that's a really fun thing, and I feel like this is a really, I'm going to go on the water tangent. It's a really pressing issue for this state, and I think that, water's kind of the essence of life for a lot of communities, and I think that a lot of people don't understand that. They don't understand what's at stake when it comes to a lot of these issues, whether it's because they're not politically engaged for very valid reasons, because they just don't understand where they need to start, any number of causes, and this is kind of a gateway. It's a way for people to find out about things that they care about, or that they should care about, and so I don't know. I think that that's kind of what motivated. I was asked to apply to be an associate producer too, to try and help lighten the load a little bit. I'm also the associate news director here, so that's kind of, I'm a print mindset, first and foremost, and so I think coming with that is a love for long form content.
Awesome.
Yeah, similar ideas as what these guys have. I don't know if I can say it with as much articulation, but the long-form structure, the more political nature, that's very different from our other shows, and I found that very fulfilling to be able to do that really extended conversation with all these different people. It's also a very unique networking opportunity to get to meet all these different kinds of people and hear their perspectives. I worked as a staffer when you were running the show those previous semesters, and then I just kind of decided on my own to apply as associate producer when that time came, and yeah, now I'm here. It was just it felt like a good decision, and I enjoyed it, and yeah.
And if I could follow up on what Justin said quickly, I think it is, I worked as the Daily Texan for a couple of semesters and then Texas News Primetime before I joined Tower Talks, and it's a very different format of journalism that's very fulfilling in its own way, because the Daily Texan, you're churning out stories, and it's all important content, and it's all important stories that students are going to want to know about, but you never get to, as a reporter, spend a lot of time with one topic or one story unless you're following it for, X amount of time. With this show, you really get to, in an hour-long show in a 40-minute panel, talking to experts, professors, students who are affected, you get to dive deep into a single topic, which is not something that you get to do in journalism a lot of times, especially when you're starting out. It is very fast-paced, and you're trying to churn out as much content as possible. So I think that's something that is kind of special about this format.
And all of the questions over an extended period of time, weeks
at least a week,
planning go into what we're asking about, and we try to target it as much as we can, both to the topic that we're referring to, and we want to find out the things that matter most about the topic. So if it's water, we want to find out not only what the crisis is, but why are we in this crisis? How do we fix this crisis? And we look at the expert's background, right? And point being, there's a long research process that goes into what we're doing, and that's journalism at its heart, I think.
It's so nice to see y'all loving the show for the same reasons that I wanted to bring it back.
All
All right, so you kind of alluded to this. A couple of y'all have worked, actually I think across the panel we have all worked at the Daily Texan. So between the four of us, we have, I believe, 3.5-ish of the 7 Texas student media entities represented here. We've got TSTV, of course, the Texan across the board, the Drag, and I say half because TSTV News has a radio segment on KVRX now, so it's kind of 3.5. Of the remaining 4, which would be the Texas Travesty, Cactus Yearbook, we'll count KVRX Radio.
Wait, we're in the yearbook.
We are in Cactus.
You guys
4.5.
Wait, both of you.
Writer and photographer.
Oh,
Writer.
I forgot.
Yeah.
You're a writer for Cactus. I didn't know.
This semester, yeah.
Okay, 4.5 entities. Well, then of the remaining 3, which would be the Travesty, Burnt X Orange, and KVRX, which would you want to join?
I want to go last.
I'll go first. I went to KVRX's like orientation. You know how TSTV has their orientation where they show like all the different shows? I went to KVRX's one as well, and I found that one super exciting. I thought that I wanted to go into radio stuff, but then it ended up being like a decision between TSTV and KVRX, so I went this route. But I do think KVRX and like audio storytelling would be where I would be if I wasn't here right now, and definitely like something I want to pursue in my classes in the future.
If there were more hours in the day, perhaps.
Exactly, yeah.
Is Burnt X the magazine?
I think
Yeah.
so, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Burnt X Orange. They did like a
Merger, Burnt X and Orange Magazine.
Okay. I think I would want to join the Texas Travesty, but I'm not funny enough for that. So I think
sometimes they aren't either.
hot takes. I think I would do Burnt X Orange. I really do like audio storytelling, but I feel like I've already done that, and I always like to try new things. So I think a magazine would be cool to try out.
I make fun, but I really do love Texas Travesty, and sometimes they really make me laugh. So I think that would be a lot of fun, especially kind of getting to do some of the political comedy, but then I wouldn't be able to report on it. So hence why I don't do that. But I'm going to say KVRX. I really love music, and it's something that I don't get to kind of go down as much, especially in the news world. And I don't want to, do it as a career or anything, but I think that it'd be a lot of fun to kind of get to spend more time, diving into music. That being said, my music taste is horrible, so they wouldn't let me in, I don't think.
What is it? None of the hits
all of the time. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I only know the hits, and even then it's like half maybe. I mean, you heard if you were watching Primetime, yeah. Yeah. If you were watching Primetime, you can go back and watch the Coachella segment. I knew none of it. So, none of them.
It knocks it out of the park anyways. All right, well, now that we've dove in.
That's also not correct.
We talked about all 7 different entities here. Rank them.
What? I'm going to get fired for 3 of them.
Oh, that's an interesting question.
Can you name them all again?
Yeah, I don't even remember any of them.
TSTV, the Daily Texan, the Drag, KVRX, Texas Travesty, Cactus Yearbook, and Burnt X Orange.
You know what? I kind of like the order you just set them in, except for I put TSTV at the top, because obviously.
I think we also have a Tower and Bridges ad.
Yeah, that's advertising. It's like an ad firm. You can also count Bevo Video Productions.
We got 9.
Yeah.
9.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the order you set them in. I feel like that's the least controversial, but I will give my reasons for the first 2. Because, I mean, it's the ones I have experience with, so those go first. I think TSTV, between our 3 shows at TSTV News specifically, we have so much, like, diversity in the content that you get to pursue. You can do, your regular 30-minute, like, news broadcast with Primetime. Good Morning Longhorns, I never personally did, but, I've watched their show, and it's very entertaining. It's that Good Morning America, like, morning show feel. And then you get kind of, like, your CNN political news cast with Tower Talks. So you really do get to experience everything. I personally, coming into journalism, I was a strictly print girl. And it was, which I've told this story before, it was after I saw the promo video in Reporting Words that I was inspired to join TSTV. Even though I never fully had intentions to go into broadcast, I thought it'd be a fun experience, and it very much has been that. You get to learn a lot. So I think TSTV #1 for me, even though we don't have the funding that some of these other organizations would have. Please support. Please give us money.
I don't think you understand how broke we are.
We just struggled with mics for way too long, so please give us money. And then the Daily Texan does very, very important work. I think it's a very respected organization. So many students here at the journalism school start out at the Daily Texan. My first semester at UT, I was at the Daily Texan, and I was there for a couple of semesters. And it's just like, it's a true newsroom experience. I think
It's got like the structure. And
It's got the structure. They're very, very serious about the work they do. You feel like a serious journalist when you're at the Daily Texan, and I think that is very important to get that sort of experience, especially if you're going into these fast-paced environments. That being said, I was losing hair when I was working at the Daily Texan. Like, it was one of the most stressful things that I've done. It's great work, and it's important work, but it is a lot of work. So, Daily Texan #2. And then everything else kind of falls wherever.
Everything else is #3.
I love everything else 3 across the board.
I know.
For my people who currently work at other.
Yeah.
I'm gonna upset everyone in this room. I'm gonna tie TSTV and the Daily Texan. I know. Because
a surprise right there.
Okay, let's all breathe. I currently work at the Daily Texan. I've worked in 3 departments, 5 positions, and I have a lot of passion for what we do. I think that more so I just like journalism, like all of us, and you get to do very different types. So right now I work in the photo department, which is obviously way less stressful than like the news department or opinion department or life and arts, which, TSTV gives me the chance to report on so many things that I've only dreamt of reporting on, and it also gives me a lot of flexibility. But I also really enjoy the experience that I've had at the Daily Texan and kind of the skills that I've learned. And that's where I learned how to write print. It's where I learned how to be a photographer. So I think that both of them. And now I use it for evil here. So that's a joke.
That is your book.
Yeah.
You're not ranked in Justin's top 2.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys.
Anything to add? Maybe, or do you want to not touch this?
Do you want to not touch it? I think I just made everybody angry, including my bosses, plural.
I feel like I don't have enough.
That's so true.
I don't have enough experience yet with the other publications. Yeah, so I'm just going to.
Way to dive out of that one.
Yep.
Alright. Well, on a more serious note, you guys talked about your different sorts of experiences in journalism. Do you have a role model in journalism that you look up to? Could be a reporter you follow, a professor maybe who's inspired you.
That's a good question. I think I'll say when I was younger, I really liked Anderson Cooper. I think he's kind of like the face of CNN for me. I respect a lot of the work he does. And that was kind of like my gateway into journalism in a way, so I think there was a lot of inspiration there. Recently, I might be getting his name wrong. I think, is it Ezra Klein? There's the New York Times opinion journalist. He's been producing a lot of great content, especially with the state of our country. I agree with a lot of the reporting he does. It's very insightful, it's very informative. He provides, I mean, obviously it is opinion writing, but it feels, factual. It feels very straightforward, and I have really, really enjoyed watching his videos and his content that he's been creating. I've kept up with a lot of the interviews that he's been doing, so I highly recommend anyone who's interested in politics in general, in journalism, to go and watch his content. Then kind of from a UT journalism perspective, I would say Professor McElroy. I think she is, I've had her 3 times now. This is my 3rd time taking a class with her, and she is first of all, she's just such a kind woman. She's just very pleasant to be around. She's very understanding. She's had a lot of news about her in recent years, and I think the way she's handled everything was very respectable. She helps with foundations of journalism, or she used to. I took a class with her about social issues in the media, and she's very passionate about those topics, and she does a great job of making sure that everyone's opinions are represented and voices are heard. So I really respect her and her reporting and the intelligence that she brings to this field. So yeah, I would say those three.
Follow that up. I saw Professor McElroy at the Texas Tribune Festival. I don't remember if it was last year or the year before, but she was interviewing someone, and the interview was fantastic. Like it was so well done journalistically. The questions were so insightful, and I mean, she was very unafraid about what she was doing. So I think that she's a fantastic role model to look up to. Also, John Schwartz here is a personal favorite of mine. He's worked at the Washington Post, the New York Times, Newsweek. He's done so many of the big names, right? And also, I think more so, you can tell how much he cares about what he does. You can tell the impact that he's had. He was a climate journalist for a long period of time. And so, and that's not all that he reported on, but he went to UT Law here, and then he entered the journalism field, and he's reported on everything from Katrina and its impact on New Orleans to the effects of climate change on major cities and on rural cities, or rural areas rather. And then outside of UT, I'll go with Adam Liptak. He's the Supreme Court reporter for the New York Times. He's absolutely fantastic. I think that he's, especially as the Supreme Court has grown more contentious and controversial in recent years, he's done a fantastic job of kind of walking the tightrope and trying to provide as accurate, honest, diligent reporting as possible, regardless of kind of the pushback that he faces.
So my parents, my family, we all watched a lot of PBS NewsHour growing up. Yeah. So I would say Alma Nawaz, who's the host, or one of the hosts. Just like the way she carries herself and her personality on TV is so beautiful to watch. I really enjoy it. I'm very inspired by it, and I think it's like we have, you know, those faces that we see when we have a news show that we consistently watch, and so she's like that person for me. And then I do also have a UT person, Emily Quigley. I took reporting words with her, and like in addition to just being a fantastic journalist, she has made some really special moments for me. I went through like a family issue while I was in the class, and like when I was corresponding with her about it on email, she was just so supportive about it and was like, okay, I can, you know, you don't have to come to class, like it's okay. And you know, journalism is so like fast-paced, deadlines, you have to like be there despite what's happening. But her and the other journalism professors we have, I really love that they're all very supportive and like understand that we're just students too. And yeah.
Sorry, if I can follow up on that real quick. I think that's something that's really special about this school is how supportive and understanding all of our professors are. And it's, you know, people who are very, very skilled and, you know, very high positions within the field, New York Times editors and journalists and reporters at kind of the top of their field, coming to teach us and then continuing to give us so much grace because they understand that we're students and we go through things. I know a lot of my STEM friends don't get the same amount of grace from their professors, which Maytha is, you know, part STEM, so she might have some experience with that. But, you know, as important as journalism is and deadlines are, we are students and we are humans at the end of the day, and we're working towards a career where mental health is not always prioritized. So I think it's very respectable that journalism professors don't scare us away from the profession. They, you know, give us grace. So I think that's been something that's been very important to me studying here.
And I think that a big part of that is when you're covering really difficult topics, there's a lot of hands-on guidance. So I've covered SB 17 and talking to faculty that were laid off, and that kind of that was the first, you know, really emotionally draining story that I took on, and it took a toll on me. Like it was, you know, that's not, you know, a story that you necessarily think of as one that's majorly emotionally impactful, but when you're talking to people day in and day out that are, you know, crying about losing their jobs or that are worried about how they're going to care for their families, as a journalist who can't, you know, you can tell their story, but I can't give them their job back, and I'm just a student. And that really starts to, you know, get some wear and tear on what you're doing, and you start to think about, you know, am I making the impact that I want to have? And the reassurance that I got from the faculty here is really, I think, remarkable. I think that the amount that they care about the content that we produce, but also just making sure that we're doing it in a way that's sustainable is very important.
All amazing answers across the board. Well, we're going to take a short break, but when we come back, we'll keep getting to know our producers here. So Tower Talks will be right back.
13 of the 48 club sports offered by the university now require students to submit proof of sex assigned at birth.
I know deep down they would probably want to stay with the university.
No way in hell anybody's going to tell my daughters what to do with their bodies.
This state is one of the worst in child education.
We can't take it anymore seeing those scenes.
Going to Hillel on Friday night, all my family members kept texting me not to go.
There's a huge housing crisis in Austin. Do you have a plan in place to address this issue? Determined to start your day well? We're up bright and early. From the enriching local stories to the weather forecast later in the day. Rain or shine, at Good Morning Longhorns, we got you covered. Comprised of a studious reporting staff going lengths to get that scoop, and a talented technical team to enhance your screen visually. As a fellow Longhorn, your mornings are better with us. So start your day the Vivo way. Good Morning Longhorns, Wednesdays at 7 a.m. Central Time on TSTV.
Welcome back to Tower Talks. We're going to keep chatting with our producer panel here as we get to know them a little bit more as we wrap up this semester. So I wanted to ask y'all some questions kind of themed around the things that Tower Talks focuses on. So earlier today, it was reported that the Texas Lottery Director has resigned amid controversy surrounding the agency, as I'm sure you guys are all aware. I wish I was. What would you do if you won the lottery?
I would pay off the law school debt that I'm about to accumulate because those tuition prices are scary.
Good answer, good answer.
Yeah. I would go on a trip somewhere. I don't know where, but it would be fabulous. It would be tropical.
What's the amount of money we're working with?
Yeah,
I have no idea how much money you get if you win the lottery. It depends on
you win the lottery, what lottery you're playing. Lots of questions to ask.
The Texas lottery.
That can get up. I mean, I think the highest it's been is like $1 billion.
Money. What would you do with a lot of money?
With a lot of money.
Just a lot.
Trip. Yeah. Off the top of my head.
That's switching over. Retraction.
Happy to help.
Well, continuing on the lines of travel, later today in the show, we're going to hear about potential overhaul of the State Department. What are some bucket list travel locations?
That is the craziest segue that I've ever heard.
Fun question.
Our country's about to fall apart. Where do you want to go to?
For those of you that don't know,
Where do you want to?
foreign policy is like my beat. That's crazy that you just said that.
Justin?
Someone want to start it off?
Sure. Well, not to be those annoying study abroad kids, but I did study abroad last semester. And I was studying abroad in London. I got to go to a lot of really cool places in Europe. I went to Portugal, France, Belgium.
I was living back here.
Oh yeah, I posted.
So pretty.
I posted so much. It was a bit aggressive. I went on a group trip to Edinburgh. Like it was an amazing time. If I could study abroad again in Europe, I would, because it's very accessible to travel there. My flight from London to Portugal was about $45. My flight from here to DC a couple of weeks ago was about $600. So to put things into perspective, yeah, insane. So if you can ever study abroad in Europe, highly recommend. But some places I didn't get to go. I didn't get to go to Spain, which I really want to go to. I went to Rome in Italy, but I didn't get to go to like Venice, and what other places are there? I really want to go to Japan. That's a dream trip of mine. Hopefully a grad trip. We'll see. I don't know. But yeah, I'm a huge fan of traveling. So honestly, any place that I can afford to go to, I hope to.
Yeah, I also want to go to Japan. I want to go to Asia, Korea, China. Yeah, I also want to go to Australia. I want to go to India. I haven't been since I was very young. So yeah.
World travel is here.
I want to do. I don't want to go anywhere.
I'm just
You're good right here in the studio.
Yeah, it's my home. I want to go to Europe. I've been to Italy, and I did an extended vacation there, which was like a dream come true. That was my top bucket list place. But I haven't been to anywhere else in Europe, and so I really want to go all over there. I want to go to Antarctica. Kind of one of those like Antarctic cruises I think would be really fun. They're laughing at me off camera. You guys can't see it, but they're actively mocking me for saying Antarctica.
He wants to hang out with the penguins.
I like penguins. So I worked at the Houston Zoo for 5 years. Fun fact. And I love wildlife, and I really want to do wildlife photography. So my other answer is I want to go all over Africa. I think that it'd be awesome. I really want to go to Egypt, but I also really want to go on safari in Kenya or the DRC, I think.
So the answer is everywhere.
I really would like to go everywhere, yeah.
We want to go everywhere.
Borneo. I'm going to throw in Borneo. Borneo.
I don't know where that is.
Southeast Asia.
Oh. So yeah, everywhere.
Everywhere. All over. Where do you want to go?
Wow, turning the tables. I'm glad if we're flipping the script on a question, it's this one.
Also, if you could rank all TSM entities, that'd be great.
All right, where would I travel? I'm trying to get to DC currently. I really want to go back. I've been twice. I want to see the cherry blossoms. I don't know if I've missed the bloom now.
You have, yeah.
That's really sad. But I would still love to go back to DC. I've never been to Europe at all, so that would be nice.
Yeah.
Highly recommend.
Okay, I'll get right on that.
Take the flight.
Perfect.
If you want to fund that,
We should just all go.
yeah, we have independent Venmos. Feel free to link us up.
Okay, well, turning specifically to some of the topics y'all have covered on panels, one of them we've been talking extensively about water. It's a very successful show, I will say. We keep talking about it, but it was a really good show with some really insightful conversation happening surrounding water. So to continue that insightful water conversation, bottled water.
What are these?
This is journalism, right?
Again, we build these out weeks in advance.
Didn't write these in pre-prod.
That is a great question.
It's a good answer.
I was gonna say.
Only one I drink.
It's a good answer.
Thank you.
Least favorite?
Sure. Do you have one?
I don't like. I mean, I drink it, but Dasani is
Yeah. Okay. Agreed.
Who drinks that willingly? If it's like multiple options, you know what I mean?
I've never been anywhere where they've offered me multiple options of water bottles.
Me either, actually.
What are the other?
For those of you interested.
Better than the Wampus tap water.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Anything in a bottle.
Top?
That's it.
Yeah, I think
I'm
there's
just looking
lead.
at fountain.
That's not journalism. For the record, don't quote me on that, but
That there's lead in the Lucas water.
You can't
that's
say that.
unverified, unvetted.
That is a Justin Dowd opinion.
That is pure editorial
Straight
comment.
to the camera. Tower Talks does not independently verify that.
I'd like to issue a retraction live on air.
I don't know. I drink water from my Brita exclusively, so I think that.
Does the Brita water come from the Wampus tap?
Yes, it does. But the Brita,
We
it
drink
does
it
its
when we have
job.
to, yeah.
It does its job. Some ice. It tastes great.
Great's a strong word.
So is Dasani
Great
better
is a strong
or
word.
worse than Brita? How does Dasani compare?
Oh, Brita above Dasani.
I disagree with that strongly.
I think my Brita might be magical.
We have a shitty Brita, I'm not gonna lie.
There you go.
Careful with your language.
Can we get an
We are
episode?
still on FCC.
Forgot, sorry y'all.
We're still live on air.
Last show. Just get through it.
They don't let me on air for this long that
I lost the
often.
director. My ear is gone.
Because they cut the feed.
Anyways,
What's the
moving
next
on.
question?
So Senate Bill 37 is another topic we've covered extensively on the show, which touches on UT faculty councils and the role that they would potentially play in the future if this bill were to pass. So if you were a faculty member at UT, what subject would you teach?
That's been banned or that hasn't been banned?
I'll let you interpret the question the way you see fit.
You know, I have thought about this as a serious aside. Way in the future, I could see myself coming back to be a law professor or a journalism professor. Both are very fulfilling roles, and considering I'll have experience in both by the time I graduate, I could see myself in late age, once I've retired, coming back to do some teaching. Specifically, social media journalism was a fun and easy class that I took, so I feel like it'd be fun and entertaining to teach.
I'm trying to think of I'm trying to make up a new topic in my head, but it's not really working. So
I feel like there's classes on every topic you could think of.
yeah.
The UGS courses, they're quite literally as every
Yes.
That's
class
true.
that you
It's
can
crazy.
imagine of. So
Yeah, I would do.
I would want to teach a UGS course in some way.
That'd be fun. I'd like, I don't know, modern American history, I think would be fun. Journalism, obviously. I think being a law professor would be really I think teaching constitutional law would be really, really interesting.
I think, to add another specific, running a clinic would be really cool. Because for those who don't know, in clinics law, students get to practice law and actually represent people under the supervision of a professor and other attorneys. So you kind of get to, through your students, do the work that you're teaching about, and you get to see it happen in real life. So I think that's a very fulfilling role.
It's really broad too. I mean, you have a real impact doing that.
There's clinics on it. There's a First Amendment clinic.
Supreme
there's
Court.
There's Supreme Court. There's
Human rights.
The Innocence Project, human rights, corporate law. Like really, most topics you can think of. There's a law school out there with a topic on it.
So I'm gonna go a little bit elsewhere because I have taken some science classes and I'm considering pre-health. And I found my biology lab course to be very, very, very fulfilling, a great intro to that area, and those lab procedures were very fun. So I have also thought about coming back to teach science specifically, and I would love to come back and be like a lab professor,
Which
lab
subject?
manager.
Science subject.
Biology.
Okay, we're very rapidly running out of time, but I'm going to do some quick rapid fire questions because these are kind of fun. So a couple weeks ago, we did a panel of creatives. So along those lines, what's your go-to karaoke song? Quick.
Party in the USA.
Good one.
Unwritten by Natasha Bedingfield? Is that the name? Yeah.
Yeah.
If I
I'll have to listen to it.
If I Can Dream by Elvis.
Perfect. And last week, in honor of Support Student Voices, we did a TSTV focus panel. If you could join one other show on TSTV, what would it be?
I'd really like to do Longhorn Late Night. I think that'd be a lot of fun. I'm an SNL fan. Yeah.
Style show.
Is it Hook Bang? Is it probably the fun show?
What's the one where they go to ACL and interview?
Yeah, that'd be fun.
One of those ones.
Yeah.
One of the music ones.
Journalism.
Mhm.
Yeah. Very good. Okay. Rapid fire again. What's next for y'all after these things?
I'm a sophomore. I've got 2 more years, so I'm here for a while. But I want to keep doing journalism. If anybody has an internship, you feel free to call. Yeah.
UT Law School, so double Longhorn over here. I will.
That's a hard school to get into.
Be down the street if you ever need me back here. But yeah.
No idea. Also, pre-health maybe. More journalism. Yeah.
Looking forward to seeing what y'all do next. Okay, wrapping it up, one final question. What advice do you have for future members?
Follow the news. I mean, I feel like you come up with so many great story ideas, but also you just have such a better understanding of how the world works, both politically and culturally, if you just read a broad variety of news sources a lot of the time.
Like specifically, start reaching out to panelists early. Be on top of panelists. I think that's the most important thing. People aren't always very responsive, and that's something you'll face a lot in journalism. And then broadly, enjoy it. Do topics that you're interested in. Try to host and do ledge reporting, and like the show is still evolving. Every semester we do something new. So if you're in a producing position, then take initiative and get creative with it, and try to figure out what segments to do. But yeah, Tower Talks is a really great show. It's very fulfilling.
Kind of on that note, I would say don't box yourself into one thing, like only print, only website, only hosting, only teleprompter or whatever. I'm very fortunate that I came into this being sort of interested in everything, and then being able to actually try out everything and figure out what I was good at and what I wanted to like focus on more was like really good for myself. So try everything. Keep yourself open.
Awesome. All great advice. Well, thank you for joining us this evening, and thank you guys for an amazing semester at Tower Talks. When we come back, we will be joined by our reporter McKenna Valentine to bring you all things politics. Stay with us.
Thirteen of the 48 club sports offered by the university now require students to submit proof of sex assigned at birth.
I know deep down they would probably want to stay with the university.
No way in hell anybody's going to tell my daughters what to do with their bodies.
This state is one of the worst in child education.
We can't take it anymore seeing those scenes.
Going to Hillel on Friday night, all my family members kept texting me not to go.
There's a huge housing crisis in Austin. Do you have a plan in place to address this issue? Determined to start your day well? We're up bright and early. From the enriching local stories to the weather forecast later in the day. Rain or shine, at Good Morning Longhorns, we got you covered. Comprised of a studious reporting staff going lengths to get that scoop, and a talented technical team to enhance your screen visually. As a fellow Longhorn, your mornings are better with us. So start your day the Vivo way. Good Morning Longhorns, Wednesdays at 7 a.m. Central Time on TSTV.
Welcome back to Tower Talks. Joining us now, we have reporter McKenna Valentine bringing us up to date on all things politics. We'll be talking about Harvard, their ongoing fight with the Trump administration, and lots more in Texas state and national politics. How are you, McKenna?
Thank you, Areebah. I'm really well. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah, last show. President Trump's goal of ending DEI policies and putting an end to, quote, woke ideologies in America, end quote, have begun hitting various college campuses around the country. Many universities and higher education institutions around the country have accepted the terms set by the Trump administration and taken steps to curb DEI and end alleged anti-Semitism. However, Harvard University has come out against the Trump administration and claimed that it will not abide by the demands set forth by the administration in order to protect its students' right to free expression, and that it will not allow the federal government to dictate the curriculum of the university. In a statement, the president of Harvard, Alan M. Garber, said, quote, "We have informed the administration through our legal counsel that we will not accept their proposed agreement. The university will not surrender its independence or its constitutional rights," end quote. This clash between Harvard and the administration has led to billions of dollars in federal funding to the university being withheld. The university's tax-exempt status has also come under risk of being revoked. A White House spokesperson said in a statement that, quote, "President Trump is working to make higher education great again by ending unchecked anti-Semitism and ensuring federal taxpayer dollars do not fund Harvard's support of dangerous racial discrimination or racially motivated violence," end quote. A few hours ago, Harvard announced that it is filing a lawsuit against the Trump administration over the budget cuts. Harvard President Alan Garber wrote in a post on X, quote, "We filed a lawsuit to halt the funding freeze because it is unlawful and beyond the government's authority," end quote. Major advancements have been made in the Texas legislature's efforts to pass a school voucher plan after Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick suggested the Senate pass the voucher bill that advanced through the House in an 86-61 vote. That would eliminate the need for negotiations between the two chambers to match their versions of the bill, instead approving the House version, SB 2. Patrick's approval of the bill sets up SB 2's likely success in the chamber, after which the bill would likely be signed into law by Governor Greg Abbott, who expressed support on social media. Abbott visited the House on the day the bill was deliberated, and the GOP caucus of the Texas House received a phone call from President Donald Trump, urging them to advance a school voucher system. Democrats in the House opposed the bill vehemently, but their majority presence in both chambers failed to garner more than 2 Republican votes in the House, and is likely to fail in the Senate when the bill is voted on. The final variation is expected to pass in the coming weeks over the opposition of education agency groups and Democratic organizing coalitions across the state and country. The draft of a new executive order that is expected to be signed by President Trump aims to restructure the State Department. The executive order calls for cutting various offices at the State Department, including offices that address climate change and refugee issues. According to the draft of the executive order obtained by the New York Times, the order is to impose a disciplined reorganization of the State Department and streamline mission delivery while cutting waste, fraud, and abuse. The new executive order also claims to eliminate many African operations and shut down embassies and consulates around the continent. The restructuring of the department will also involve multiple layoffs, beginning with putting multiple employees on paid leave and sending out letters of termination. Democrat Representative Gregory Meeks of New York, who serves on the House of Foreign Affairs Committee, said in a social media post, quote, "Whether parts of this draft executive order ever reach Trump's desks, it's already clear this administration is determined to gut the State Department and run American diplomacy and development capabilities into the ground," end quote. The White House has claimed that none of the proposals are true and that they were not being considered. A number of Democratic members of Congress have visited El Salvador in recent days in an attempt to ascertain information on the detention of Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Abrego Garcia from Maryland was wrongfully sent to Sikai, a terrorism detention facility by the Trump administration, according to court documents. And his legal case has made its way to the Supreme Court, which ruled that the Trump administration needed to facilitate his return. Despite the ruling, the administration has reiterated messaging that he will, quote, "never come back," end quote. Areebah Garcia entered the United States illegally, but a 2019 immigration judge ruled he could not be removed from the nation over concerns for his safety. The White House alleged he was a member of the gang MS-13, but no evidence has been provided to verify that claim, which his attorneys refute. The case has drawn national attention, leading Maryland Senator Chris Van Hollen to venture last week to El Salvador in hopes of meeting with Areebah Garcia. Upon his arrival, Van Hollen met with the vice president of El Salvador and then attempted to drive to Sikay to meet with Areebah Garcia and assess his detention conditions at the notorious facility, which has been accused of human rights violations. Van Hollen was blocked by members of the El Salvadoran armed forces from arriving to the facility, but was then informed he would be permitted to go meet with Areebah Garcia at his hotel, which he did. Since Van Hollen's visit, 4 Democratic House representatives from Long Beach, Florida, Arizona, and Oregon have ventured to El Salvador to try and secure Areebah Garcia's release, though so far they have been unsuccessful. The Maryland man's detention has raised concerns over an impending constitutional crisis should the White House disobey the Supreme Court's order, though many Republicans assert that those claims are overblown and dramatized.
Thank you, McKenna, for bringing us up to date on all things politics. This is our final Tower Talks show of the season. Tower Talks will be back in the fall to bring you more important deep dives into the issues that matter most. Be sure to continue to follow us on social media at TSTV News on X and Tower Talks TSTV on Instagram. Check us out online at tstvnews.com and subscribe to our newsletter, Newsroom Notes. From all of us here in the studio for the last time this semester, thank you for joining us this evening, and good night.